Did you ever stand up to a bully? What was the result? Story 1. I was not bullied, nor am I now, because I am a fairly big man, 6 feet tall and 200 pounds, so most people steer clear rather than start something. But my 9-year-old son, he was bullied quite a bit in previous years, second grade. After receiving virtually no help from the school going by the book, I finally had enough and started sparring with him every day. Gloves on, all out. Just last week some kid, in anger or frustration, picked up an armful of playground mulch and threw it in his face. Not once, but twice. My son then proceeded to tackle him to the ground and punch him twice in the head. My son received in-school suspension. I notified the assistant principal that we felt it was self-defense, and explained to her that my son had been bullied quite a bit in previous school years. I also reminded her that it was not realistic to stand there and allow someone to throw mulch in your face for very long without doing something. She waived the school suspension. He did not get in trouble at home. We were proud that he stood up for himself. Story 2. In 8th grade, my biggest bully sat next to me in English. One of those girls who would be cutting one moment and then sweet fake flattery the next. She mocked me constantly. Near the end of the year, I started dating a boy who would walk me to class and we'd kiss on the cheek and he'd leave. No day she leans over to me and goes, "Sue, have you guys made out yet?" I look at her with genuine confusion and ask, "Why would I tell you that?" And she replies all sickly sweet about how we're friends. I look her dead in the eye and go, "No, we're not. I don't like you. You're mean." There was like 3 weeks left of school, so I guess I didn't give a fuck. Best part is she got all offended and huffy, and the teacher, who had heard all of this, goes, "You might want to listen to her." Fucking obliterated. Story 3. Yep, she was known in school as a tough girl. I stood up to her at high school house party back in the 80s. She was always fucking with me for no reason any chance she got, and I never did anything about it. Until that night, everyone was fucked up on coke and booze, and she started her shit again. I had it at that point, and threw my beer directly in her face. Her jaw hit the floor, and there was a collective gasp throughout the room. I simply said, "Let's go. Right fucking now, you dirty C&T." She ran out of the house and didn't come back to the party, and never fucked with me again. Everyone was like, "Holy balls," laughing and high-fiving me. I ran into her about 20 years later at a gathering, and she was super sweet to me. I asked her if she remembered being an asshole and getting a beer thrown in her face by me. She said, "Yeah, I wasn't expecting that." I got a good chuckle out of it. Story 4. Bullied for years. One day I snapped and I hit back. At this point I was 14 and had done martial arts for coming on a decade. I got maybe 3 punches in before 3 other lads in the year above dragged me off him out of fear I'd do him serious harm. I want to stress I was a scrawny arse kid and these 3 guys were all rugby players. It took all 3 of them to hold on me down. Honestly, I can't even remember anything after charging him. All I know is after that I wasn't ever bullied again. Someone tried once on the bus while I sat down and he stood over me. Got bottled it when I grabbed his wrist and stared him down. I'm not for violence, but I've actually said a few times today in this thread, if you're getting bullied and your schools is letting you down, you hit back. You hit back hard. Story 5. 4th grade. Kid on the bus kept picking on me. I had had enough where I didn't care if I got beat up. I called him out and told him to meet me in the nearby field 15 minutes after we got off the bus. Anyways, I show up, and so does he. But he is across the field looking at the ground. He says, "How did this all get started?" I said, "Some dipshit was making fun of me." I honestly can't remember what else was said, but I remember him saying some sort of apology and me saying something along the lines of whatever, don't do it again. And that was it. We didn't speak of it after. We still went to school together, but never in the same circle. Actually ran into him in Vegas when we were 25. Seemed like a different guy. Shot the shit for a few minutes, met his wife, and then parted ways again. Story 6. Not quite stood up to as much as resolved. This guy I knew, let's call him Ben, was in some trouble with some HS loan sharks. Being a kid that would pretty much never spend his lunch money just because he wasn't hungry, I helped Ben pay off his loan sharks. Afterwards, he vowed to pay me every time he saw me in school from then on, even when I told him it wasn't necessary. He kept that promise for as long as we were both in school. Hell, he even went out of his way and approached me to settle this on most circumstances. Later on I discovered that he actually did stand up to this loan shark, fought him, and won rather quickly, easily. We were both C+ students at best and weren't very good at money management at the time, so to this day, I still don't know for sure if he paid his dues, gave interest, or is still in debt to me, but I can confidently say that this was one of the most wholesome experiences I ever had throughout high school. Story 7. There was a kid who had been picking on me for a few weeks in 6th grade. Not like taking lunch money or anything like that, just would push me when we walked past each other and talk shit sometimes. He seemed like a rougher kid, one of those who was happy to get into fights, so I was pretty scared of him. I knew if we actually got into a fight I'd lose. One day I wasn't having it and said fuck it. He shoulder checked me as he walked by and I put my hands on his chest and pushed him into a wall. We ended up fighting for a minute or two. It wasn't as one-sided as I thought it would have been. We both walked away feeling like we'd done well, I guess. Strangest thing is after that, not only did he never fuck with me, he actually went out of his way to be my friend. It wasn't like he was scared of me, it just seemed like he wanted to be friends. He'd say hi if he saw me in the hallway, or if he heard a funny joke he'd come tell me. Story 8. Every time. During elementary school, I stood up to a bully far larger than myself and he very easily beat me up. I decided to become his best friend afterwards and used him to keep the other bullies away. I was friends with the biggest bully and the popular bully. Nobody really bothered me. During high school, I moved to a different school than everyone. I started doing MMA as a hobby, but had no real bully problems until 12th grade. I organized a formal fight with him in the bathroom. The idiot was far bigger and taller than me, but he lacked any formal training. He also literally decided to corner himself in the bathroom before the fight began. He ended up hitting his head against the wall a few times and blacking out. I nearly got expelled. When I came back, other bullies started wanting to pick a fight with me, seeing as I was now a tough guy. Elementary school bully dealing tactic, worth. Dude was a pretty good and loyal friend. High school bully dealing tactic, not worth. I had someone from another school come and try to kick me in the back of the head trying to start a fight. Really don't recommend. Story 9. I did. In middle school, this one particular girl went at me in the lunch line every day for the first 2 months I was there. She didn't know me. She'd come from another school, so I had no idea what her problem was with me. She would push me into the wall. I probably weighed 70 pounds, soaking wet. I was very small for my age. I'd hold my face against the wall and demand that I, 1. Let her break the line so she could get ahead of everyone. 2. Pay for her food, which was impossible as I was a reduced lunch recipient and never had extra money. We were pretty poor. I finally couldn't take that anymore. It was really getting to me. So one day she repeated her whole routine and I simply told her, no. She pushed my face into the wall even more and asked, what did you just say to me? I said nerve. Alert me, jur. She backed up about 2 feet and I was sure she was going to punch me. She cocked her head to the right, looked me up and down and said, fine, I'll let you go today, but you better know I'm watching you. She never bothered me again, not once. As a matter of fact, she intervened for me a couple of times with some really nasty mouthed boys who were saying terrible things about me and my friend. My bully didn't become my friend, but she became a frenemy. Even in high school, years later, we were always cordial to each other. But she never messed with me again after that incident in the cafeteria. I have no idea why. Story 10. This one going nowhere in life. Bottom of the barrel kid starting teasing me and harassing me in high school. I don't know why. I was friendly and personable to everyone. I was a pretty chill dude. I guess he just decided he didn't like me. He and I were the last ones in the room one day and he started talking shit. So I immediately got in his face like inches away from it and said with the most deadpan expression I could muster and the quietest, most serious, most calm voice, which was difficult because I was fucking boiling with rage at that point. I could make and still be heard, if you don't shut the fuck up and leave me alone, I am going to fucking kill you. I made sure no one was around so no one but him saw or heard this, and I guess I scared the shit out of him because he never bothered me again. I assume he thought I was a psycho, and I'm sure I definitely came off as a psycho. My advice is if someone is harassing you, don't go in all heated. Go in calm and serious and say something fucked up and threatening while being as vague as you possibly can and with no witnesses so you can deny it if he runs to the principal like a bitch. Make him think you're really a psycho. Make him think, if I don't lay off this kid, he's gonna shoot up the school and he's coming after me first. Nobody messes with low-key psychos. Everyone's afraid of them. Don't just act psycho all the time because you'll become ostracized. You're not really a psycho. Just use it as a card you can play when no one's around to see it. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out the rest of our Reddit story series. We've got some amazing stories lined up for you, so hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more. See you in the next one.